everybody, and welcome to the OZone, live from Koreatown, back from New York, and the mecca of boxing, Madison Square Garden. It is the OZone. I am your host, Omar Miller, here with my brother, who also traveled with me because the OZone was in NYC, Terry Miller, the Icons. How you feel?
Yes, I'm feeling great. Let's do it.
Let's do this, Brutus. We got a lot of cover for you guys today. We've been off for a little bit. We had a lot of action. I do have a day job, folks. I'm sorry to let you down, but we got things to do. A lot of production going on. Trying to wrap up this season of Ballers. It's been a lot. Gonna cover a few things today. Gonna cover Rafael Nadal put up a crazy monster fight about 2 months ago in the Australian Open against Roger Federer. But Roger Federer has since then seemingly overcome the hump of their rivalry and has become unstoppable. He won the Indian Wells tournament this past weekend for a record 5th time, I do believe. We're going to cover a little bit of that. We're going to talk about the big news, which is the Gennady Golovkin Danny Jacobs fight at the Garden. We're going to talk about the fight that was on the undercard of that with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez against the homie Arungzvai Vizai. I don't know how to say his name, and we don't want to just call him the Thai homie, but that might be his name for today till I learn how to say his name. We got President Trump talking reckless about Colin Kaepernick, which is unnecessary. We got a lot to cover. We got NFL free agency,
WBC.
We got the World
March
Baseball
Madness.
Classic, and we got March Madness. So let's just get right into it. Going to lead off with where we were and what it's all about. We're going to play you guys a quick analysis of a caller that called in. And just so you guys know, you can call in and leave your take. You can catch us at 424-254-2663. Is that us? 424-254-ZONE. And that is our number. And we have a caller. A fella's called a couple times, Julian, and to give us a pre-fight breakdown of the Triple G fight. We're going to hear what he said, and then we're going to get in and tell you what it was like being there, smelling it, tasting it, feeling it, who was there, how it happened. Here we go.
What's up, fellas? It's Julian, leaving a message for the Triple G Danny Jacobs fight coming up this weekend, Saturday. It's going to be good. Both huge punches. If they get into a firefight, I think it's anybody's fight. But I don't think Triple G's stupid. I think he's going to box just like he did against David Lemieux.
Well, that was, I guess, all we had for Julian. Didn't seem like it worked out right. We're having some technical difficulties. That's all right, though, because we're going to tell you, and I think that his analysis was spot on, but a fight did break out, ladies and gentlemen. An incredible fight broke out. No. A fight broke out. I mean, in
the stand.
And 3 of them in the stands, apparently. They said there was something like 16 people ejected. People were fired up. Kazakhstan showed up at Madison Square Garden, and so did Brooklyn. Brooklyn stand up because Danny Jacobs represented, folks.
He represented.
It was a who's who there. As usual, a great HBO pay-per-view event. Jerry Seinfeld was there. Dave Chappelle was there. The real deal, Evander Holyfield was sitting right in front of us, looking mean and lean. Anthony Durrell was there. All sorts of fighters, boxers, personalities. My man from Hookers on the Point narration was there. It was everybody was in the house. So Peter Berg, producer of Ballers, was there, and director extraordinaire. He was there. And then what else was there was the ones and twos. Let me give you my take on the fight. I saw a very, very focused Gennady Golovkin and a very, very impassioned Danny Jacobs into the ring. It was very interesting because
You're going with an impassion.
He was alive he was there for the city. He was trying to put on for the city. And I think there was an adjustment that had to happen to the moment because the lights were a little too bright for Danny at the beginning.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think he started out impassioned.
I think he started out on the right foot because he came out popping the jab. And truth be told, I feel like if he would have stuck to that plan and popped the jab all night, Triple G, he would have walked away with the belts. Because he's a taller man, he was a bigger man. And I think a key thing took place that people aren't necessarily talking much about. Danny decided to not come to the day of weigh-in. And he decided to turn in his belt and not come to the day of weigh-in. And there, live on the floor, you could see how much bigger than Gennady that he really was.
He was big.
I mean, he maybe probably 185.
Yes, at least.
I don't know about at least, but he was maybe I would say up to 185. He fully rehydrated, and I think that full rehydration really helped him weather a lot of the punches that Gennady threw. Danny came out popping a jab. Couple of early rounds, they were feeling each other out. And in the third round, everything just went absolutely berserk. Gennady, I've never seen Triple G look like he had bad intentions in a fight, and he looked like he wanted to open it up because he knew that that Danny was the bigger man that night. And he came out punching, man, and he came out boxing. I saw some tremendous defense from Triple G. Everybody who's out there talking about it being a robbery is
talking reckless.
You're talking
you have to
not?
watch that fight. Well, Danny is saying that because he said he's watched it 3 or 4 times and he feels like he won the fight. And Danny's a great guy, but he's delusional. I think he got a couple of screws to knock loose.
Well, what we saw a great fight. We saw Danny get knocked down in the 4th round, which was not a push. He got hit twice with 2 punches, one to the neck and one to the chin, which took him down. And up until that point, I would say watching the fight up until maybe the 5th round, Danny seemed like he was fighting to not get knocked out. Yes. He seemed like he had overpsyched himself on the power of Triple G. He bought in.
Yeah, he spoke about it in the press conference, you know?
Yeah.
He's not the boogeyman. He doesn't hit as hard as I thought and everybody said he was. I thought he was going to be a lot tougher and harder. And
yeah.
So that means that was already implanted in his brain.
He bought in.
He bought in.
He bought in. So there was a mental disadvantage for him, I think, early.
But let's get down to the point. The knockouts aren't a myth.
That's not.
It's real.
Those 23 knockouts, that streak was real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then 33 knockouts out of 33 knockouts out of 37 fights now is not a fluke.
It's not a fluke.
That's putting people to sleep.
Fluke.
Yeah. Even 10.
you
might go through 10 tomato cans. You might have 10 bums. 33?
33.
Not a fluke. So this is what I saw. And I just lay it out. We got a lot to cover, so we're going to lay it out quick. It seemed like Gennady came out focused. He had a lot of respect for Danny and Danny's power. More respect than I would say I have seen in recent years for anybody that he's fought. In the Kell Brook fight, which people criticized him for, I think he realized that Kell had faster feet and hands, at which point he was going to have to take some punishment to give some, and what he gave was more than he got.
And he also knew that Kell Brook couldn't hurt him.
Which was key.
Yeah.
I think that he suspected that Danny may be able to hurt him.
So Danny's got a high knockout ratio as well.
Sure does. And so that I think that in that he suspected that Danny could potentially hurt him. So he was somewhat cautious, and he worked behind a beautiful jab. I mean, a beautiful jab that he was working on.
Jab.
A head snapping, stiff jab, a sharp jab. And so what he was doing was he got that jab working, and it kept Danny real honest. If you watch the first 5 rounds, there's not many highlights for Danny Jacobs.
I would say the first 7 rounds.
Really?
He doesn't have a lot. The people who say that he won go 1 through 7, and you're going to be hard pressed to find a round that he won.
There's a lot of the great defense going on by Gennady.
Especially when you got dropped in the 4th.
And you get dropped in the 4th. But he did get up, and after the cobwebs kind of shook loose, he put on
a gritty performance.
I mean, a champion performance. He showed why he has a belt. Had a belt. Is because that guy has crazy heart. And he went in there and he wanted it. And he looked like he said that he told Gennady after he knocked him down, he told him, "You have to kill me in here." And folks, when we're talking about these brutal combat sports, individual sports, you have to be willing to die in there to get the most out of yourself.
Yeah, and that's what could happen in there.
That's what can happen if it goes the wrong way for you. And I think what he did do is he took advantage of Gennady trying to headhunt and knock him out, because then he started popping his jab.
Yeah, and that was actually when he started getting to be a part of the fight, because before that it's not that it wasn't competitive, but he didn't look like he really had a chance at that point.
He was moving backwards.
He didn't have a lot of lateral movement. He was
a lot of his punches were getting caught.
Yeah, he was not the aggressor.
He was not the aggressor.
And then after he took so much punishment early, he was pity-patting, meaning that he wasn't hitting, his punches didn't have any power on it. It was just literally punches.
I think that he ended up, I think that weight really helped him out. I mean, really helped him out.
Helped him from not getting knocked out.
It helped him from not getting knocked out. It helped him recover.
Yes.
Because he was able to get back. We went, let's stay in chronological order. So then, as the fight progressed, Danny started to come on for sure. I didn't think he had the thump on his punches that he normally has because he took so much punishment, both to the body and to the head. And yet, when Gennady started to headhunt and look for one punch as opposed to the combos that he was putting out early, Danny scored some rounds, I would say. He won some rounds. Me, myself, I had the final 8-4 Gennady, maybe 7-5. I don't know where people thought Danny won the fight. And I can't express this enough. Danny may be listening. I love Danny. I stayed after the fight for 2.5, 3 hours just to talk to Danny after he got finished doing his mandatory tests with the doctors and the urine samples and the blood samples, blah, 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 blah. This is what was very interesting, folks, which you can get live on the OZone. You can't get anywhere else. We went in the locker room after the fight with both fighters.
Yes.
We went in the locker room with Gennady, who was so excited and so happy. And he was there with his brother, and which is always beautiful. Obviously, we're biased because we're brothers, but he was there, and he looked like he wanted to fight some more. He was so excited.
He was pumped.
He was pumped. You guys will probably see some of this footage on HBO because they were filming us talking. And when we were talking to him, I was telling him, I said, hey, man, you look so focused out there. And one thing that I saw was that you abandoned the jab at one point, and you came back to it late. And I said, but that jab was just a head snapper. And he said, this guy, oh my, he's crazy, this guy. He never lose composure, which I thought was amazing.
And because I think that he relies on that a little bit, because he knows that once he hits you hard, you're probably going to lose focus and composure, and your game plan is literally out of the window. I think that Danny Jacobs did lose his composure a little bit. He hit it well, though, because
I agree. That's a pro move. That's a champion's move.
Because what he was doing when he was popping that jab is that he made him pay a little bit. Triple G made him pay a little bit, and with his left, I do believe, a couple of times, and that sort of stopped him from wanting to throw it as much. I feel
that's when he switched to the southpaw. He bought a little time to recover by switching to southpaw.
Well, a lot of people felt the southpaw. I didn't really feel like it was effective.
I think people felt the passion. People felt the antics because he got hit and then he would scream and yell and rah rah sis boom ba, and it was legit. But he was taking punishment in that.
But he was in that he was showing confidence to himself because he said,
"Sure was.
You're not putting me to sleep, and I'm going to die out here if I have to, in front of my fans and my family.
Son was there.
I'm willing to die."
And I tell you what, I think that Gennady is to a certain degree in a lose-lose situation. I read somebody on Twitter said something great. They said, you know what? Gennady is in an 88 Tyson scenario. If he knocks a guy out, oh, that guy was a bum. If he doesn't knock the guy out, it's, oh, see, he wasn't ever that tough anyways.
Well, I want to take it to a different angle now.
Which route you want to go?
I want to go to I do believe it's a Russian route.
Okay, let's go.
Because, from that part of the region that he's from, which is not Russia, but everybody now with this political agenda and everything is starting to yield towards, this whole feeling, whereas the United States always needs to have an enemy. And this seems like it has something to do with that.
You're taking it deep.
Yeah, I'm going deep because it really has an undertone of that for certain parties of the fight game. And then also we bring back the reverse racism of it all.
This is, you know what? After the fight, we braved the 35-degree cold and walked for a little bit, talking about the fight. We were so hyped up still after talking to both fighters. And it was very interesting because the Icons brought up a great point, which I could not agree with more. There is a reverse racism that takes place in a lot of sports that we just have to address because it's really real.
It's real.
By and large, and you can watch it down the line. When it was Pacquiao versus Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather stoked this up a lot. Yeah. It was black people versus them.
Right.
And so black people should support the black person. When it was
Canelo and Mayweather.
When it was Canelo and Mayweather, it's the Latinos, the Mexicans versus the black people.
Mm-hmm.
People love a good story. Now they're trying to do that same nonsense with McGregor versus Mayweather, which, by the way, who cares about? If you buy that fight, you're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
But there's definitely something to be said, especially with the political climate of what's going on in the United States right now.
Yes.
With the Russian wiretaps, potentially with the election, yada, 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 yada. And even though Kazakhstan is not Russia, it's Eastern Europe. It was part of that Eastern Bloc. And, I think people kind of associate that to a certain degree with it. And so we can rally behind, give them a little Rocky, Ivan Drago versus, versus Rocky Balboa kind of scenario. And when you're just talking about the brass tacks of the fight game, it's not right. Because we saw that happen as well with Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev.
Yeah, and guess what, people? Latinos and African Americans aren't the only ones that can fight.
This is something that just has
we need to get over that.
We need to get over that. And part of the reason is because fighting and boxing are sports that you do out of necessity.
Yes.
It's something you very, very rarely will an affluent person be able to be a successful fighter or boxer, they need to be hungry in a way that they are not.
Which usually happens once a fighter gets comfortable and makes millions of dollars, and then he has to get back there in the ring and go into training camp, stay away from his girl and everything else. And pretty soon he says to himself, you know what, this is not even worth it. Just knock me out.
Yeah, the same kind of thing that we're going to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua coming up. But I agree with you. I think a lot of people speak with their heart on this. And guys, go back and watch the fights. The fights are available on YouTube. Go back and watch the fights because we watched the fight several times after the fights, and
I didn't see anything different. I saw even more, domination and got even more respect for Golovkin because you watch his defense. The defense was,
his
impeccable.
footwork and his defense was. There's a reason that he's a Jordan Brand athlete. I have respect for Danny because Danny went in and faced Goliath, if you will, and he stood toe to toe with him. He didn't come out the victor, but he did win. What I told Danny after the fight was, hey man, regardless of the decision, you won tonight. This was the best pay-per-view card that we've seen in I don't even know how long.
In a while.
In a very, very long while. I mean, this pay-per-view card was fantastic. And these two fights were fantastic. I think that Danny, as he should, believes he won the fight just because that's part of the individual sport. You got to feel yourself.
Yeah, but you can't. After you watch the fight 3 or 4 times, you have to be a realist.
Hey,
as well.
I'm still feeling myself.
You can feel yourself, but you have to be a realist.
I'm feeling myself.
Well, don't feel yourself no more.
I'm not feeling myself.
You're on the point of being perverted. Don't do it.
I don't know. This is coming from the guy who swears Drew Holiday's a superstar. So I don't know, folks.
There he goes.
I don't know about that.
There he goes.
Yeah, but I think that the idea that Gennady is humble doesn't work well in his favor for America. Because America's like their superstars to be brash and cocky and I don't know about tainted, but they just like them to be big and cocky and brash.
I think they like to see him a little bit marred and scarred and everything. Golovkin has a hard luck story. His family went through hard times and everything else.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he's not braggadocious, and that's what Americans like. Saying. Americans like obvious. And this is why it was hard for a lot of Americans to accept LeBron James as a superstar initially, because he would rather pass and make the right basketball play as opposed to
showing out himself.
It's the same reason that people have the love-hate relationship they have with Floyd Mayweather. There's no way you can watch that fight. Now, if you guys would see it the other way around, if Danny Jacobs would have knocked Triple G down and then at the end of the fight, Danny would have then in turn lost that fight to Triple G, you guys would be crying left and right about how it was the man and how it was fixed and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Because everybody nowadays who's a casual boxing fan seems to have the game twisted to think that you can't get knocked down and that you can't lose.
That builds character. You can get up off the floor because if you can get up off the floor in that ring, that's showing you that you can get up off the floor in life.
Exactly. And I think in this particular situation, it worked the other way around. Danny got up off the mat facing cancer, and then he came in, and now he shows you, I can get off the mat. I don't care who I'm fighting.
The only problem with Danny right now is that how is he going to react fighting the next fight? He took a lot of punishment.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to see that with this Kell Brook-Earl Spence fight coming up as well, because Kell Brook's coming back pretty quickly for having your orbital bone crushed just back in September. Yeah. That's by
Triple G.
That's by Triple G, by the boogeyman. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. I thought Gennady, him telling us that Danny never lost his composure was huge, because and usually you see him knock guys down, and after he knocks them down, it's just a matter of time before he knocks them out.
And it looked like he thought that himself, because in the fourth round, from probably the 4th to the 7th round, he started stalking him.
Yeah.
And that's when he started loading up and just hitting him with big punches.
And that's when Danny got back into the fight.
That's when Danny got back into the fight around the 6th or 7th round. He never got back into the fight to me. I never felt like he was in the fight because it looked good, but from overall, he never really was in the fight. He made it competitive, but I never really
felt like he had the lead.
Yes, I never even felt like it was even. I mean, I don't know what the announcers were saying or whatever.
Right.
But he wasn't in the fight like that. He was getting hit way too hard. He was getting hit too often. And Gennady was out jabbing him. He out punched him. He out power punched him.
Stats were technically they said that Danny had more power punches, which I don't know where they got that from.
I have no idea where they got that from.
But tell me this though. Now, do you see Canelo Alvarez competing with either one of those guys?
Canelo can't fight against these guys, man. And they are doing the right thing by keeping him out of the ring from these guys. I would let him fight Danny Jacobs before I would let him fight Triple G. I think Triple G probably can knock him out within 3 rounds. He throws wide punches. I don't think he's going to get past Chavez, honestly.
Ooh, you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Chavez, who may come into the ring at 200 pounds, ladies
Hello.
and gents. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be a great year for boxing. It really, really is. And now that's interesting that you would say that because, you know, after speaking with seemingly both camps, there seems to be some confusion about the fax machine on who's received what fax as far as the offers go. And, you know, I think it's a very telling stat. I read somewhere that Canelo makes for 98% of Golden Boy's income right now. And so they have to protect him to a certain degree.
And so you have to keep him in the right situation. And this situation might not pan out for him fighting against Chavez.
It might not, because he's going up. I mean, Chavez has been very suspect.
Very suspect, but I see more focus than I ever have before with his father in this corner. His father's all over him.
There's a pride factor going on here.
And everybody knows who has a dad that's like
on you.
Yeah, that's on you. I'll do whatever I got to do to get him off.
Pops off my helmet because he's on me. And now this is true. Wow. And now let's talk about the other fight really quickly before we move on. How about Chocolatito versus the Thai homie Rungsvisai?
You know what? I felt like I told you while we were watching the fight, when it came down to the latter part of the fight, I felt like he wasn't going to win.
And it's interesting because Chocolatito, they came out. Chocolatito, people who don't know, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez was considered to be the number one pound per pound fighter in the world. He usually fights at 110, 112. Now he's at 114. Went from 110 to 114. And I think that the weight factor really, really made a difference. That guy looked like he was maybe even up to 10 pounds heavier than him on the day. Yes. And he came out establishing that he was the bigger fighter. He came out establishing.
Hit him in his chest.
Hit him in his chest. It looked like he made his heart skip a beat, to be honest. At the arena, you could see Chocolatito's face. There was a panic that came across, not from getting knocked down, but it looked like an internal panic.
Right, and we saw him fall ringside. We were ringside, and he fell in slow motion.
He sure did.
In front of our face.
And being a crazy, fine-tuned athlete, it took him a good maybe 4 minutes to get his body back together to start working right. But boy, when he got it back together, that man went to work.
But that guy stood right in front of him.
He did, but at the end of the day, I don't know. He laid it on him. First and foremost, I felt like there was a lot of phony love with the hugs after the rounds and everything.
No question. I think that might have been an MMA move, right?
That might have been an MMA move because in the headbutt was a street move. And on the
headbutt, it was the headbutt.
There was several headbutts. And it was interesting because right there on the spot, it didn't look like, I didn't think initially in the first 5 or 6 rounds that he was headbutting him on purpose. I felt like in the first 5 or 6 rounds, it was that whole southpaw fighting the traditional blah, 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 blah. Then when you watch the replays, he gave him a little bit of the Street Fighter and he dropped it right on him a few times. But Chocolatito ended up showing the heart of the champion and exactly why he's pound for pound at the top of everybody's list. This dude, after the second round, once his heart got back together, for a good 9.5 rounds, he put in work. He just looked like he could never overcome being the smaller guy.
Right.
In a way that Gennady could be the smaller guy and cut the ring off and so on and so forth. He just kept taking punishment. Chocolatito hit this guy twice as much. He ended up landing 400 punches. Let's look at these punch stats. Were amazing.
But this was the difference for me why I didn't consider Chocolatito the best pound for pound, because what you don't bring to the table, which Golovkin brings, is power. You know, and he can get you out.
Not at the higher weight.
Exactly. And he takes way too many punches. At that lower level, those guys can throw like 10,000 punches in the fight.
I mean, he threw 1,013 punches in the fight.
Come on, man.
And Sor Rungvisai threw 940 punches. 441 times Chocolatito hit him to 284. And I don't think there's a tougher guy on the planet than Sor Rungvisai, because he showed the chin. His chin is made of a grade A, 60 pounds of pressure concrete. This dude got clocked constantly and never moved.
I never felt like he was going down. He looked like he got hit a couple of times.
In the 12th round, it looked like in the 12th round, if they had 2 more rounds, Chocolatito might have been able to get him out of there.
15 rounders, no more.
No mas, Holmes. But I don't know if I need to watch the fight again, because watching the fight, I felt like Chocolatito did enough to come back and overcome
being the champion.
And this is the thing. Nobody talks about this anymore. You got to take the champ's belt.
But he got dropped, though. Usually that's what the qualifier was to take the champ's belt, that you had to drop him, and he got dropped. And then he lost, but the other guy lost a point.
At this, he lost a point from the headbutts, which made me think, at the very minimum, we got to draw. And then down the road, I mean, these guys, 2 of the refs, 2 of the judges judged it 116, 112.
Come on, man.
There's no chance. There's no way.
No 116. I would go with a split or a draw.
Maybe worst case scenario, Chocolatito lost that fight.
But I need to see it again
114.
because what I saw from ringside, I honestly felt like that he wasn't going to win the fight.
But at the same time, losing that point negates the knockout on the cards.
Yeah, but
the knockdown.
That guy was doing great counter punching. He stayed right in front of him. A lot of times
he wore the punches well. Some more needs to be said about how you wear a punch.
Yes. And then more needs to be said also about when a guy gets hurt, how these fighters nowadays don't recognize that they're hurt.
That's a big deal.
You know, and these guys don't recognize it. And if you recognize that, like a Triple G seems like that he recognizes it, you can take advantage of the other fighter. But a lot of times these guys back off because I actually felt like Chocolatito hurt him.
I did too.
But then maybe
that guy wore the punches well.
Yeah, but maybe it was the blood.
Same like maybe he couldn't see through the blood. I know it was the blood for me. Yeah, little Negro spiritual for y'all. Y'all know about that. Y'all didn't go to church. Y'all don't know about.
Go on now.
Anyways, look here. I do believe that Chocolatito had to have a hard time seeing him. I thought really around the 9th, 10th round they were going to go to the cards because I thought they were going to stop the fight.
Because it was a gusher, dude.
He's going to need plastic surgery.
Jacket. Yeah.
He's going to need plastic surgery to fix that. That's a serious thing. And, you know, that they said that was the first time a Thai fighter has fought in Madison Square Garden. And, man, that dude came and showed up and showed out. He represented. A lot of representation that went down.
Yeah. I need to watch that fight again. But, you know, when you watch it once, I mean, but you.
What can you do?
A fight like that, you need to watch probably 2 or 3 times.
But a judge has to score it right there on the spot. Now, I will say this. One thing that Rungsvizai and Danny Jacobs did that I observed that I thought was very interesting, that is something that great fighters do. They saw all the punches. I felt like Danny didn't get knocked out and was able to weather the power of Triple G, not only because he had that extra 15 to 20 pounds of full hydration, which helped his body recover, but because he never got hit with punches that he didn't see.
Right.
He was able to stay in there, keep his eyes open, whether he was throwing or receiving, so that he could brace himself for the impact. In comparison to oftentimes, Triple G hits guys like a load of bricks in them, and they didn't even see it coming at all, and then they're in a whole nother galaxy.
I think that's by design for Triple G as well, because I think that in a certain situation, he didn't want to take or get into a situation where he might throw a punch from an unusual angle and get caught himself.
Ah, that's a really good point. Well, folks, this segment is being brought to you by the 5-4 Club, 54club.com. We're sporting it now. T-Bone looking fresh. Go ahead, get fresh for the spring and summer, ladies and gentlemen. It is spring, has sprung upon us. 54club.com, life and style. Get a box of clothes worth $200 delivered to your doorstep every single month for only $65 a month. Use promo code Omar and you will see the love. So let's move on now. Got to move fast. We got a great, we might even give you guys 2 podcasts this week. We got so much action going on. Want to talk about March Madness, crazy upsets and everything going on. And we got a caller that wants to call in.
Hello.
Next victim, live in the OZone. What's popping with you, Tipper?
Chilling. How y'all cats doing today?
Hey now.
Man, I got a little bit of that lag. I'm a little tired. You know, we was out at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, watching some tremendous boxing this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm sure you caught it. Real quick, I just say that again.
I didn't catch nothing but news feed, and I'm mad at y'all, man.
Why you mad at us?
Fix your face.
Yeah, it's a 3-piece. It's a 3-piece combo.
Man, hey, listen.
Next victim gotta go.
Next victim is a part of the OZone, and your ticket was on deck. Our brother Junebug took your spot because you didn't pop up at the Garden. And you can't be mad at us.
Right.
You listened to the OZone. You were part of the OZone. You knew we were going to that fight.
Yeah.
I'm nasty like Icon.
Well, let's talk about nasty, and I want to talk about your expertise. Some NCAA March Madness college basketball, my brother. Now, how's your bracket looking? This is what I want to know. What's happening with the bracket buster?
Man, my Midwest is looking flawless.
Really?
I'm a Michigan State fan, but I have to go against them because I like Kansas.
Right.
Michigan State is very young. So my Midwest bracket is looking just perfect. Nothing, nothing. There's no X's in that one. They're all O's. It looks good. I have Kansas, by the way, to win the to win the championship game.
Versus
I
who?
believe in those moves. Versus Arizona.
Ooh, so your bracket is looking solid top to bottom. Now, this is very interesting because right now I'm looking at my bracket, right? I'm going to tell you who busted my bracket up. My Midwest is probably my best bracket, but Michigan is hurting me because I had Louisville beating Michigan, and then I have Oregon beating Louisville, which means that I don't know if they're going to beat Michigan. But I have Kansas coming out of there. In the South, I have UCLA facing Kentucky, which I think is going to be a great game, but I actually have Kentucky winning it all because I have Kentucky beating North Carolina, and I have Kentucky winning it all. So I got Kentucky coming out of the South. Coming out of the West, I personally had I had Arizona. Actually, I had Gonzaga over Arizona, but then I had them losing to Villanova, and I had Kentucky beating Villanova in the championship game. So this is going to be what ends up happening. What's going to be interesting because Villanova busted my bracket up. I had Villanova getting down and beating Baylor in the Elite Eight, and obviously now that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, man. The parity for this year's tournament was like
incredible,
the best ever.
Yeah, maybe the best ever.
Best ever. You know, you had teams that should be there, and they're performing. Like, I have Villanova to go to the Final Four.
Me too.
Villanova didn't make that. Wisconsin, see, I'm a Big Ten fan.
Okay.
I know I'm on the West Coast, but I love Big Ten basketball.
They played the game the right way.
I think you had 7 teams from the Big Ten to make it to the tournament. Now, Wisconsin was a sleeper. Wisconsin should have never beat Villanova on paper.
Right.
But during the game time, when them lights come on, it's a different thing.
That paper is out. This is about lacing them up.
Wisconsin is playing Big Ten teams the entire season. So they're playing championship and tournament basketball the entire season in the Big Ten.
That's a good point. They're playing better quality opponents the whole year, which is what I thought was going to end up hurting the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, where in the first half it did look like that the quality of their opponent was actually going to end up hurting them when they actually had to fight and play somebody real. And now this is the same thing that looked like it got to Nova. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
It's going to happen. Everything is happening. Folks had Duke to win.
A lot of people had Duke. That Duke loss moved me way up the ranks in my bracket.
You should have hollered at your boy.
No. It had me move up. I didn't have Duke. I wasn't a believer in Duke. I didn't have Duke in my Final Four. I didn't have him in the Elite Eight. I had him in the Sweet 16. I had Duke losing to Baylor. And so I didn't know that they were going to lose to South Carolina, but I had them losing to Baylor.
Now, see, South Carolina is, again, one of them small-town schools, but they have a great coach. Frank Martin, they have a great coach. Can't forget that he went from Kansas State and took a team to the Elite Eight. Then he transferred and went to South Carolina. Man, that dude is a hell of a coach. But South Carolina is overshadowed by all the other ACC schools and the SEC schools. So
also great competition.
Also great competition.
And I believe, it's funny that you say that, because going back to kind of tap dance back and forth on the fight, that's something that we didn't touch on. I think that Abel is a better trainer than Danny Jacobs' trainer was.
Yeah.
And I would actually love to see the trainer records for the Chocolatito fight versus the Thai homie.
Yeah, that's true.
Because in all of this, the reason I bring that up is coaching plays such a big factor, but it's every blue moon that the coaches actually get the credit. When the coach tears his Achilles after the championship, he gets the credit. When the coach is like Coach Kane, he's been there for 100 years, he gets the credit. But it's very rare that this gets factored in, because this is about preparation. And as former athletes, everybody knows preparation is critical when it comes time, when
it means opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly that's making good luck. Because what happens is that good coaching is what allows you to adjust within the game, which makes the matchup on paper mean absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
True that. But just like all coaches say, we can't play the game for you. So
I ain't play it for you.
These people, once you get into the ring, once you get into the court, once you get into the field, once you get onto the ice, whatever you get into, you have to want it.
It's on you. The coach can't want it more than you want it, because he's not going to put up one jumper.
Absolutely. You have to just want it. They can prepare you. The trainer can prepare you to get you out there to expect certain things, but you have to want it.
And that means you can't dog it in practice.
Right now. Because these kids, like the bigger schools, they're falling like flies. Because they're the one and done schools.
Right.
Now, these 18 and 19, 17 through 19-year-old kids are playing these smaller schools these students that's been there for 4 years.
And they've bought into the program.
17 and 18-year-olds compared to 20 and 21, 22, that's grown men.
It's grown man.
So they've experienced almost everything possible on this court during these tournaments. So now the smaller schools with some, the bigger schools, the Kentuckys, who's one and done, but they're just extreme athletes.
Right.
Where the coach is going to get all the accolades, but,
they're all AAU and blue chips and high end.
Right. Absolutely.
So now who you got in your Final Four?
So I have Arizona. I had Villanova to go over Baylor. I have Oregon. I have Kentucky.
Wow, so you have Oregon beating Kansas. I thought you said you had Kansas winning it all. Who did you have winning it all?
Hold on, I'm looking at my bracket wrong. I'm looking at
okay.
Yeah, Kansas.
So I have Arizona, I have Villanova, I have Kansas, and I had Minnesota. Minnesota was my shocker.
Oh, wow. You thought Minnesota was going to take it to North Carolina and Kentucky.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Minnesota had a record of like 27-4.
They were a really good team. Middle Tennessee.
If I was to go to Vegas, I wanted to go with a sleeper just to throw everything off. That's how I usually do my tournament bracket. You got to have one sleeper to get there.
Okay.
That was going to be my sleeper.
Okay.
So the final two I have, I got Arizona and I got Kansas. And I got Kansas winning it all. Now,
Kansas is really good.
UCLA. I like the way UCLA play.
Now, that's what I want to talk to you about. Talk to me about, your man, LeVar Ball, talking reckless about his son Lonzo and all of his sons. And what's your take on that and the pressure that he's putting on his kids?
Man, I look at it like this. I'd rather read what that dude says after an interview than see him clown and talk foolish, live in person. Just let me read it, because on TV and on radio, he sounds like a complete idiot, a complete fool. So when I'm reading,
we're talking about LeVar Ball, not Donald Trump, Tip. You make sure you got that right.
Well, that's a good one, huh?
I do this for a living, my friend.
But you're good. You're good. I'd rather read what he says, because then I can make my own. I can put it together and be like, okay.
Basically, you can give him a pass. It's more palatable when you digest it by reading it than it is when you have to hear him and all of the way he says it, talking stupid about beating Michael Jordan and talking stupid.
He averaged 2.2 points.
Yeah, come on, man. You're talking reckless.
I don't need to hear that from him, because I think that's all for show and for TV. If he has that much confidence, more power to him.
And I think he's got marketing. This is the thing. And you'll see, when you see the Danny Jacobs Triple G fight, there's a portion of the fight where Danny's actually getting beat up, but he shows so much heart and drive, and he starts yelling and grunting and, yeah! People love passion, and Americans are a sucker for a show. We love a good spectacle. And I think that LeVar Ball is actually smart in knowing that, in the same way that Donald Trump was smart in knowing that about the spectacle, because this is why the bait and switch works so well in the American public, is because we are a sucker for the dangling carrot. We love that. We love for somebody to give us a show. We're willing to pay for a show.
Well, if he just wants to get money, that'll work for him. But what happens is that they're going to maybe build this kid up, and the kid is going to be the one who takes the brunt of this and not the father. And they're going to build him up to smashing,
But they're all together at the same time.
They're all together. Yeah, the father's going to have to pay for it once his kid gets smashed.
It's all home.
Father's got to pay for it.
Yeah, but that's assuming that the kid doesn't have the goods. As of right now, the kid is showing improvement, and he's
got the
balling,
goods.
and he's balling in the tournament.
Dwayne Wade gave him a shout out.
Dwayne Wade gave him love. Now, what do you think about this, next victim? Because here's my thing: watching the kid Lonzo Ball play, shooting the ball from your chest is not going to work in the NBA. The guys can jump too high and they're too quick. They will beat up your jump shot if you put it out from your chest. What's your take on his chances in the NBA?
I think he's going to be effective because he's about 6'4", 6'5". He's quick off the dribble. His shot is ugly like Kevin Martin's. If you guys remember,
yeah. But Kevin Martin was an underachiever in the league.
Was an underachiever, but Kevin Martin was a shooting guard also.
Yeah.
And with this kid, Alonzo Ball, I've fought and hate as much as I could, but this kid, he has it. He has it. He has the tools to be in the league and be effective in the league for a long time. He has the court vision where he can pass. The shot is a problem, but come on, man. It's plenty of ugly shots in the NBA, and a lot of them dudes are in the Hall of Fame. Jamal Whip.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about ugly shots. I'm talking about the actual functionality, shooting the ball, pushing it out from your chest, as opposed to taking it from the shoulders up.
And this kid's 6'6".
I mean, he looks like he could be low key related to Drake. He's he looks like he's listening to More Life. He might be Drake's ghostwriter or stunt double, low key. And he's actually what Drake would love to be because he actually can hoop.
And from L.A.
And from L.A. But yeah, nah, man. I mean, the kid is legit. From what I understand, his little brothers are even more legit than him.
Yeah.
But they have the family. I say this. I salute LeVar Ball because it's on everybody's lips. The Ball brand, the Ball brothers are on everybody's lips now. And he has as much to do with that as does the play of his kids. I mean, these kids putting up 92 points in a game in high school.
And 80-something.
And now 80-something. And now you have this kid actually deep into the tournament with UCLA being the leader on the team. They got the goods. But unfortunately, and I've learned this from being in the entertainment business, the squeaky wheel does get the oil in America. And this is just the world that we live in. This is a capitalist society, and he is a capitalist to the fullest, obviously, because he's trying to exploit it. And I just hope when the brother finally does get paid, he goes to the dentist and gets his grill fixed. Because
well, you got to bring that up.
The scary part about it, though, is like this kid can go. Now, LeVar Ball has mentioned that, you know, his kids can, you know, once they become 18 and become grown, they don't have to do with them or have to listen to them or do whatever. Which is, you know, so he said some good things.
No, that's the thing. I take it as a positive. I take it as the shock value that he's going for has been effective because everybody's talking about him. We're talking about him on the OZone, talking about him on Sports Center. You're talking about him everywhere. And getting talked about, getting attention is the preamble to getting paid in America.
And his other brother's coming to UCLA next year, right?
And now what?
And Lonzo's one and done, but his younger brother, the one that's right behind him, I do believe that may be better than him.
There you go.
He's averaging 51 points in high school.
Come on, man. You average 51 a night. I think it's 8-minute quarters in high school.
That's a lot. You know, running clock.
Jello Ball. I don't think he's bad. I think Lonzo, in this case, and Big O, you might agree with me, there's not too many older brothers that are better than the baby brothers.
No, but this is, and I'm going to tell you why. I agree with you, and I'm going to tell you why.
I don't.
I'm going to tell you why. Actually, I think you do, and I'm going to tell you why.
No,
I'm going to tell you why.
It just matters what you play.
No. I'm going to tell you why. If I'm not a better baseball player than Terry was, then Terry failed on a certain level. And that's because the same way that Lonzo...
I'll put that out there. I failed. I let you down. I feel like LeVar Ball when he started talking about baseball. I feel like I'm better than everybody.
Look here, and if you ask the people that we play with, you know, you may get a different answer. But this is the point. This is the point. The point of the matter is, when you're the younger brother, Lonzo Ball has now gotten a higher level of coaching than his brothers have.
Yes.
And you know what? When they go back to the crib, Lonzo Ball is telling his brothers, no. Let me tell you what they taught me. Now, Lonzo Ball is about to go to the NBA, and then when he's in the NBA, he's going to spread that information to his younger brother, who will then spread it to his younger brother, which is the same thing that we're seeing from Yadier Molina. Yeah. Yadier Molina isn't more gifted physically than Benji or Jose Molina.
No.
But he's a better baseball player, because he had the experience of getting that information passed down to him. When I can remember when the Icons went away on his full scally to go play in college, when he came back, my baseball game went through the roof. You couldn't get me out. And it's because he had got more information. He got more information when he started to play professional baseball, which then in turn transferred to me, which just means that I got it earlier, which unless I'm dumb, I should incorporate into my game. That's a simple technique. It's not like I don't think it's a genetic thing or anything else. Every blue moon, you have guys that, you know what I mean?
But what I'm saying about these guys is that their younger brother, not the youngest, but the one that's in the middle.
Yeah.
He's 1 year behind him. And also he's like, I think that he might be physically superior.
Is that right?
Yeah, because
I always like Charles O'Bannon's game more than Ed's, personally.
I think he's like 6'4" and 6'5", but he's more broader.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
He's giving you more Charles Barkley work.
It's gonna either go up or it's gonna go down. Now, I don't believe that middle brother has the tools to make it to the NBA after 1 year. Maybe 2, maybe 3. I just don't think his body type is ready for this speed of basketball in college basketball or in the NBA.
I see what you're saying, but you're saying Lonzo's ready to go. He's got the tools. He can get it done. And the youngest brother still isn't even done growing, so who knows what's going to happen, And
I think he's a sophomore.
And that's the one that put up to 92, right?
And the other brother put up 72.
That's a lot of points. Next victim, thanks for having you. Thanks for coming by, man. We're happy to have you. We are on hyperspeed on the Ozone. We actually have to get to the World Baseball Classic to Chavez Ravine to go watch the Japanese play the USA. USA. Man, you want me to roll out? Roll out. I got a ticket for you. Roll out.
Now what? Now what?
Now, you talking all that nonsense. Roll out. Didn't nobody tell you to move out to Afghanistan?
Oh, man. Nasty. Ozone.
Next victim, always great having you. Oh, man, gotta love the Ozone. It's so nice to be back on the mic. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. I was actually going in for a meeting on a cartoon, to do a voice on a cartoon today, and I ran into a cat and said, hey, man, I just want to let you know I love the podcast. I really love the podcast, man. I want to call in, blah, blah, blah. You guys are welcome to call into the podcast, folks. This is the Ozone, where we take it all. We are unfair and partial sports podcast, so we take all comers. Call us, 454-254-ZONE. All right, moving on. We are moving on.
No,
fast and furious. What did I say, 454?
Yeah, I think you had the 5-4 club on your mind.
No, you know what I got on my mind? I got the Chevy on my mind.
that 454. I'm about Stroger.
Ooh, that's a 383.
Out the crate.
Okay, sorry, folks. I can get you the phone number, the right number. It's 424-254-9663. All right? That's 424-254-ZONE. Call in. We'll play you on the air, and we'll get our technical difficulties fixed, and we'll get you together. Now, moving on again, how about this World Baseball Classic?
How about it?
Ladies and gentlemen, have you watched? We told you that the Classic was starting the last time that we were there, the last time we were on the air for you. Have you watched? Have you seen the potential of World Baseball and seen it in the way of this being like the World Cup for baseball, this being like the Olympics for baseball? These guys are having so much fun out there. It's like when you watch the Dominican play, the Puerto Rican team play, the Venezuelans play, the Japanese play, and you now even see it with the USA guys too.
Yeah.
They're not stiff, man. This is what baseball needs to revitalize itself.
Acting like a kid playing, a grown man playing a kid's game.
That's it. And this is the best thing on the planet.
How can you be mad at that and then getting paid for it?
Come on, man. And then get national pride out of it.
I just blown away how you're supposed to hit a bomb and then walk around run around the bags and say, oh, act like you've been there. Hey, man, I enjoy it.
And
Valentin hit that home run last night?
Oh, man.
Are you kidding?
That was a bomb. Dodger Stadium on a heavy air night at Dodger Stadium, that was a mash.
People were sleeping.
That might have been a 500-foot bomb if you're playing somewhere else.
Yes.
That was a mash. He posed, too.
He had to. But guess what? Nobody was mad.
Nobody's mad. No, we're just going to play we're going to play this game out.
If you get me, you got me.
That's what it is.
You will hit my best. Last night, that kid, Edwin Diaz, went right after him.
Sure did.
In a clutch situation, he threw 3 fastballs.
Jeez, and he throws
100 miles an hour.
And that kid, and Valentin was like, oh, yeah?
Gave him a little chin music.
Uh-huh.
They did the fake brawl, ran out, you know, hey, what you doing? Hey, man, what's up? Where you going to eat? Yeah. And then after that, what happened?
Yeah. Sit
Gave
down.
it to him.
Yeah, so you know what? I was on a plane. I didn't get to see the whole game. I was following it online. Man, that was exciting. The Final Four is out. Unfortunately, both of our predictions are dead in the water. We got the Japanese team playing the USA tonight, and the USA is looking hot.
Bats are alive. I think Tanner Rourke's going to show up tonight.
Tanner Rourke's a big-time pitcher.
They said they took him over Chris Archer probably because Chris Archer left the team and came back. And wanted to come back, and Tanner Rourke stayed with the team throughout the whole process, which I can understand you giving him some kind of loyalty. Let him pitch in the big game. And Americans are swinging the stick right now, so we're just as good as anybody else besides the pitching. If we can get the pitching together, honestly, after watching that game last night, I was wishing that you could see it because this is the difference what I'm talking about, why the Americans are the best, because we play disciplined, fundamental baseball.
For 9 innings.
Yes, and the other teams don't. That's where the passion.
That cost the Netherlands last night.
Yeah, more than once.
Picking off. Yeah.
Javi Baez did it for Puerto Rico because he went and stole third, but then your boy Xander Bogaerts didn't lay the tag on him the right way.
I saw that,
which cost him. Those are all fundamentals.
This is
the bag is right here. You know that he's got to
get to the bag.
He has to come to the bag.
Drop your knee in front of the bag.
Drop your knee and put that glove right there, and he's going to get.
He has to touch it.
He has to touch it, or he's out.
That's it. Yeah, but the games have been incredible. The Miami, I would say the most exciting pool was the Miami pool. That Miami pool was incredible. There were some great games. Colombia really showed up. A lot of representation going on. Julio Teran dealt. Jose Quintana dealt.
Israel showed up.
Israel showed up. A lot of countries have a lot to build on now.
Yes.
Israel has something to build on. China even has something to build on. They get to see how far behind they are in the world stage because they got pounded. Cuba has to go back to the drawing board.
Cuba's going to have a hard time competing because they're going to lose all their players to the MLB.
And once again, now if they can open it up, though, and the MLB Cubans can play for Cuba, then the rest of the tournament is going to have a hard time.
Now, do you think that the Cubans would want to have those guys back?
I do. Because everybody wants a better life. And I think that once these things open up and you can see that's what it was about, I don't think there's going to be animosity. I think that country pride trumps that animosity. Now, what I'm very concerned about with the game tonight is that the Japanese are always there. Every single World Baseball Classic, they're always in the Final Four, and they've won 2 out of 3. They are a tough team. You may not know these guys, but they play the game the right way.
USA! I'm going USA.
I'm going USA versus Puerto Rico in a rematch.
Yes.
And I tell you what, that Puerto Rico team is stacked.
The Puerto Rico team will lose to the USA.
I agree.
If we get to that. If the United States can make it.
Especially if Chris Archer is on the bump.
Yes.
Or maybe we'll get a random appearance from Clayton Kershaw.
Good luck. That will not happen. But Chris Archer can get it done, and a couple of other guys as well, because Kenley Jansen is still there, and you're going to bring out maybe grab a couple other people from
What are you talking about? Kenley Jansen isn't there. Kenley Jansen lost last night with the Netherlands.
Oh, yeah, he threw too many pitches too, right?
Doesn't matter. He lost. His
He
lost.
sure did.
He's on the Netherlands.
I'm thinking about. I'm sorry. I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
And they brought out that 7-footer last night as well, the tallest pitcher in history.
And he can't get a deal. He's getting the Pisha deal.
What can you do?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, but the USA all the way, dude. I'm going all the way. Who's our closer? Since I wanted to throw Kenley Jansen in there. Kenley!
It was not Boxberger. We have a series of closers.
We played with Lou Gregerson.
We played with Lou Gregerson, David Robertson, and Tyler Clippard. We don't have our best closers out there.
Well, we don't have our best pitchers out there.
Yeah, therein lies a problem. I would like to have a Craig Kimbrell sighting.
Yeah.
And that would be nice.
Let him pump some cheese for just 1 inning.
Blast some cheese and see how y'all like that.
I would go grab 3 closers. And
just real quick.
Yeah, and just let them.
Oh, we got Andrew Miller. We got Andrew Miller.
Yeah, and let them build the bridge, and that's it.
Yeah, we got Andrew Miller.
Tanner Rourke should give you probably 5 or 6 tonight.
He's going to give you 6. Then again, the Japanese foul off a lot of pitches.
Yeah. I don't know if they've ever seen Tanner Rourke. He's tough.
And
he pitches to contact, which might hurt.
Which actually might hurt the Japanese.
Yeah.
They wear out guys who are strikeout guys. Actually, that might be why Chris Archer isn't starting.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they're contact guys. They like to put the ball in play and pity pat all over the place.
He's throwing that heavy sink piece.
And it's going to be a heavy, balmy night if the game doesn't get rained out.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we actually got rain in L.A., folks. So
I think it's supposed to actually come down tomorrow.
Which is the championship game.
Which is the championship game.
What are we going to do about that? But if you haven't watched, tune in. The World Baseball Classic is in the semis and the finals are left. It's a great situation. Great game, great time. I mean, I'm going to be there. So if you come out, say, hey, give a shout out to the OZone. I'll take a picture with you and we'll throw it up. Rah. So, man, even more. I feel like I'm with TSA right now. Even more speed. Let's talk about the NFL free agency, which is always important. And we got Trucker Dave wants to sign in. So we want to talk about some stuff happening in the NFL right now. It's a very interesting time because obviously the Super Bowl just passed and we're about to jump into OTAs soon. But there's some rough news going around the NFL for some legends right now. You saw that Dwight Clark just came out and announced that he actually is fighting ALS. He's been diagnosed with ALS.
Right. Now, let me ask you this.
For anybody who doesn't know, just by namesake, anybody who doesn't know by namesake, Dwight Clark is the guy that you always see making that big catch against the Dallas Cowboys at the back of the end zone
From Joe
way
Montana.
up high from Joe Montana, from like a pass that was probably like 12 feet up. He went up and got it. And he was a part of that 49ers lore. He was a part of that big team. I think he won 2 championships with them. And I mean, inspirational guy. When I'm going to read off some of the tweets that people said about him, but there's this is touching a lot of people. What's your take on it, T? You had some other news as well that I think ties in.
Yeah, Bears Hall of Famer running back Gil Sears has dementia. Now, are they saying that they believe that the ALS comes from the trauma from football?
I don't know if they're saying that, but I think that is what's implied. And
That's what's implied with Gil Sears.
And I think it's what's implied in general. Can football cause ALS? This is the question. What are we really saying here? And he's a great guy that people love. Dwight Clark himself wrote his fans a letter, and they asked, did football cause this? He said, I don't know for sure, but I certainly suspect it did. Clark went on to encourage the NFL and the Players Union to continue working together in their efforts to make the game of football safer, especially as it relates to head trauma. And it's really tough, really tough. Here's a Dr. Fred Fisher, the president and CEO of the ALS Association Golden West chapter, said, we know that a protein that gets released during stress, concussions, and neurological damage, TDP-43, is implicated as a cause for ALS as well as other neurodegenerative diseases. But there are also people just like you and me who end up getting the disease for no apparent reason. 80% of the people who end up being diagnosed with ALS have no family history of it.
Wow. But you bring in stress, everybody's stressed out to some certain degree, and then you don't know how you
respond to stress.
Individually respond to stress. There's some people who love stressful situations and thrives in them, and there's other people who actually just might not be able to handle that.
And I think that also the stress, when you talk about football, is a different kind of stress. Gale Sayers was getting popped in his head.
Yeah, he was a running back, and running backs are built to take lickings.
And back in the 80s,
they're not built actually to take a licking.
Yeah.
That's
the
what they
position
do.
is.
Yeah.
But back in the 80s, receivers took a licking too.
Everybody took a licking.
Everybody took a licking. And you're looking at the ALS Sports Link is all the more pronounced because of the famed athletes who have perished at its touch. Hall of Fame pitcher Jim Catfish Hunter had it. Boxing champion Ezra Charles. Hall of Fame basketball player George Yardley. Pro football player Glenn Montgomery. And British soccer player Jimmy Johnstone. And obviously the most famous of them all, who was the disease is named after, Lou Gehrig. It's a tough spot. We want to send all the prayer and positivity we can to these fellas and to everybody suffering from any sort of devastating illness, disease, and know that everybody's pulling for Dwight. Everybody's pulling for Gale. And we have to keep it positive, folks. You never know what people are going through. And everybody who thinks, I hear this a lot, being in the position that I'm in, oh, must be nice, you got it all. Yeah, you know what? The cards are bouncing my way right now. I'm being blessed, but none of us know what's going to happen in the future. That's why it's essential to treat people well with respect, and you get what you give oftentimes. And unfortunately, we get things that we don't think we deserve. So I'm going to pray for good old Dwight and hope he can fight this thing.
And Gale.
Praying for them both. And we want to move to a higher note. An OZone contributor and listener, we got to get him into the OZone. Dustin Brown, captain of the LA Kings, scored his 500th goal the other day.
Hey.
Love Brownie, giving you love. Hey Brownie, we're talking some puck. What's going on?
What's going
happening?
on?
Where
Man?
are you?
When are you gonna call in?
When are you gonna come in before you
come
leave?
in.
I know you're gonna go out of town soon. You're gonna go back up there to that nice part of New York where you live.
Beautiful.
And live good with all your kids. You old lucky dog, you. But no, LA Kings for life. Big shout out, big shout out, big love to Dustin Brown,
To the big homie.
And you know what? Also going back to the football realm though, really disappointed once again in President Trump. He had the nerve to say the other day that the reason Colin Kaepernick hasn't been signed is him.
And Colin Kaepernick should sue him for collusion.
He should sue him for collusion.
He should sue him.
And especially because he actually put up decent numbers when he played last year.
And he's admitting that he's done it.
Yeah.
So how about that?
Yeah. And he's saying, and I think it's important now more than ever. I'm going to support Colin Kaepernick. And I'm not supporting the kneel, but let's talk about what it is that caused him to kneel. And everybody has a problem with this bait and switch and this diversionary tactic. The president, who's actively under investigation by the FBI, folks, by the way, if you missed the news yesterday, the president is trying to use another diversionary tactic to take away from, the heat that's on him. When Colin Kaepernick actually exercised his right and his civil right to speak up for a portion of society that he feels like is being wronged. And he's done his job and he's been successful at it in that we're talking about it. People are talking about him and people are talking about the actual issue, which is law enforcement and the apparent problem that they have with impoverished people and people of color with the unequal amount of deaths that occur at the hands of law enforcement for people of color.
But you see how they divert that. You start talking about Colin Kaepernick. Yeah,
you start talking about
instead
him.
of the problem when we never get resolution, because this guy, now we're focusing on him not taking a knee instead of talking about the problem.
Yep.
Or fixing the problem.
Yep. I agree. And it's not right. And Colin Kaepernick did, he did what it is that he has the right to do.
Yeah.
And, if you have a problem with it, then you have a problem with the Constitution, folks.
Yeah.
You may not have liked his action, but take a step and look beyond the action and try to figure out exactly what do you think that Colin Kaepernick could have actually done other than what he did to get the attention on the issue that he was trying to highlight. Really, tell me that. What do you guys think that he could have done? I would love to get a caller to call in and talk about that because I would really like to know.
It's ridiculous, and we're too busy focusing on Tom Brady's jersey.
And we're focused on Jersey Gate and Von Miller's helmet.
Yeah, and worried him sending FBI agents to Mexico to find the jersey. Are you kidding me?
Come on, man.
We're using the government money to go find this jersey?
We might as well. We're using government money to pay Trump himself to go to his own golf course over the weekend, every weekend.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Not going to get too political on the show, folks, but certain things, they tie into the politics and the sports. And Colin Kaepernick, for some reason, Trump decided to take credit,
for his career.
For his career. And you know what? This is why he deserves praise, in my opinion, is because most athletes don't take a stand, pun intended, irony recognized. And he actually took a stand for an issue that he cared about, and he's paying the price now. And he's paying the price in the sense that, you know what? He just nobody wants to answer the phone for him. Nobody needs a quarterback, apparently, even though I'm sure Jay Cutler's going to get a job soon.
Right.
And nobody can use Colin Kaepernick, just like nobody could use Tim Tebow because he was an outspoken person of faith. This hypocrisy's got to stop at some point, and we all need to look in the mirror and make sure that we're not a part of it.
Tebow won a playoff game. He almost has more wins, or just the equivalent of Tony Romo.
And Tony Romo's a Hall of Famer in everybody's eyes.
Yes. Unbelievable.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, moving on. Got to go quick, folks. Roger Federer, I have to say, my hands are down. I fought it for the longest time.
Hands down.
Roger Federer is the greatest tennis player of all time.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Where are you going to put him?
They're down. That's it. He's there.
You put them behind your back. When you say hands down, do they go behind your back?
No, they go on the table usually.
Oh, okay.
But this guy is unbelievable. He took that time off because he had the knee injury. As per, normal tennis, he's a senior citizen. He went down there to the B&B Paribas Open in Indian Wells, down in Palm Springs. He's 35 years old. He won the record fifth. I do believe that it was his record fifth win of that tournament. Mm-hmm. Just after coming off the Australian Open win in that thrilling 5-set throwback match with Rafael Nadal. Well, guess what? He met Rafael Nadal in the quarters of this tournament and smoked him. Straight sets. This guy's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable what he's doing right now.
It really is. And I mean, and this is a testament of what we were talking about with sometimes an athlete getting time off actually can rejuvenate their career.
Right. And it seemed like it worked out the right way for him because he's a guy that always taking care of his body.
Yeah. He's played the game the right way on and off the court.
Uh-huh.
Really, really interesting stuff. I just salute, man. This guy, I can't wait to meet him. I know we're going to run into him somewhere, and I can't wait to give him the praise that I think he deserves, other than all of the hundreds of millions of dollars and endorsements that he has.
You want to tell him his skills are extraordinary.
His skills are extraordinary. So tell me, you got anything else you want to cover?
since we're in a little crunch, not right now, but there's a lot out there, and maybe we can come back and hit them with an espresso shot or something.
Maybe so. Might even give you something from Vegas, folks.
Yeah.
You never know. Gonna leave you here with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have and make some difference that you have lived and lived well. May or may not have been Ralph Waldo Emerson. But whoever it was is a smart joker, Jack. Anyways, thanks for rocking with us. Coming back at you soon. OZone. Check out our YouTube page, our Facebook page. We got a lot of extras for you. And you want to see us? You want to see who won the Hole-in-One Challenge for lunch with Jacques Cousteau Slade? What do you want to see? We got it for you there. This is Omar Miller, your host on the OZone.
Peace. OZone.
Out of our constriction. Gonna be freaking up and down the hang-up alleyway. With a groove I only got, we shall all be moving.